Well, hello guys and gals, welcome back to another edition of Farming Simulator 2015 with me, your old buddy, Mistermoose. Hey, we're back on Manchester to continue up our work where we left off yesterday. However, I didn't remember it being this dark when we were doing the potatoes. Almost looks like rain, though there is no rain in the forecast. It did say it would be cloudy today, so it is a bit overcast. Anyway, so we're going to pick up where we left off. We've got the potatoes that still need to be taken care of, so we'll get on to that, as well as we'll do a few other things as well. So let's get started. I am going to begin with our tractor here. We're going to run it over to the shed, pick up a plow, and set that off with a hired helper over in field number 6 and do that. So today marks the first outing with the G27. Finally got everything set up the way I like it, though I probably still have quite a bit of configuration to do on it to get everything exactly right. But I think so far everything's going to work pretty well. I still need to mess around and see if I can get the track IR working, but so far so good. All right. Oops. I still gotta get used to it. So the way I've got everything set up on the tractors, I'm using the G27 to steer with, and using the foot controls for acceleration and braking, obviously. I got some of the buttons on the steering wheel to work. I've got basically 4 buttons on the steering wheel to work: turn signals, and horn, and what was the other one I got to work on there? A beacon. So I got all that working on the steering wheel, and then I got a few buttons to work. It's weird. The first time I went in to configure everything, I was able to get a few buttons to work on. I was able to get a couple of buttons to work on the gear shifter, but not very many. Then, when I was messing around doing another configuration on it, I was able to get even more to work. So it's weird. I don't know why suddenly it decided to let me have several of the buttons work, but it is now, so I'm actually able to do a little bit more functionality with the gear shift consoles and versus the other. So I've got that working now, so I'm pretty pleased. I'm actually using the gear shifter itself to do some of the stuff. Alright, so that is set up and ready to go, and I put hired help on that to run through there and plow that field. And while he does that, we are going to head out and start working on potatoes. So I did forget to save the course in course play for this guy, so we've got to re-record the course real quick for it. And then I've also got both of the G27, both of the Logitech 3D Pro joysticks hooked in as well. So now that I have, whenever I want to do forestry, I can do forestry with those. And then I've got some functionality built into those as well, for using them as well to control things like camera angles and some just extra odds and ends, like on my right side stick on the console, I've got the ability to do the drive control functions as far as adding in the diff lock, 4-wheel drive, things like that. Then I've also got my GPS lock on that controller as well. So I need to drop the trailer here, and we'll bring up course play, start recording that course, and we'll head to the farm real quick so that we can get this done. Yeah, I know we did this yesterday in the video. I do apologize, but I forgot to save it. I was like, I need to go save that course, and next thing I knew, I close the game. So yeah, I'm using, as far as the settings on the steering wheel, I'm using about 600 degrees of rotation on the wheel. I was going to do 900, which is more of what you get in real life. 700 and I forget what 1-to-1 is. It's like 7 something. But 900 is about what you get in real life with a tractor. Though I decided I would, I messed with that a little bit, and it seemed like it took a long time to recover when you made turns. So I just I ixnayed that, and I went down to about 600, and I'll see how that goes while I get used to it. Might turn it up a little bit more the more that I spend time in the game and get more comfortable with it. But so far, I think I've got it in an area where I'm pretty comfortable with it. We'll see how bad it goes. This is my first outing with it. So yeah. Alright, so we're gonna back this guy up real quick and get it. Oops. Mark our spot here. Alright. A little bit more, and then we'll have our trigger point. And I gotta get used to having the brake and the throttle separated on your foot pedals. You know, make sure I do that right. Which Recon was saying he actually enjoys using the shuttle mode in drive control, and just using one pedal for that, having an actual brake and then using the gas and using shuttle mode. And I might end up turning shuttle mode back on for that, because I have noticed that well, since you use the brake for reverse instead of an actual brake, I have noticed that sometimes when vehicles start to walk on me or drift, I don't have a way to really, other than slam them in reverse, I don't have a really way to get them stopped up and woed up. Especially like if you jump into a vehicle that's parked on an incline and it starts to roll backwards on you and you haven't started the engine yet on it, there's no way to stop it. So definitely need to look into that. I might end up putting shuttle mode on, and maybe I can add that into one of the buttons where I don't have taken up right now. Which I'm using the gear shifter for a couple of buttons, and I might actually could use the gear shifter like first position on it to, you know, up would be shift it once and, you know, shift it up again. I don't know. I'll still mess with all that and figure it out. And I made a temporary like sled that I'm using right now with my desk, but eventually I have a real nice one I'm building right now. Once I get it all done, then I'll maybe post a picture of it or something on my Twitter and my Facebook page. But alright, so that is done and we're good to go there. So let's hook back up to the trailer. Oops. Get that out of the way so I can turn the camera here. Completely different playing this way than it was before. It's like learning all over again how to do this. I used to be so fast and at all this, and now I'm just slow. Alright, so pull right over here to where the endpoint is and line up with it so we don't make the mistake that we made yesterday, and that was start it and send it going, and it, you know, had to go all the way to the farm. Alright, so set this up once again for the for the Ropa. And that is good. And yeah, always use 4-wheel drive and drive course. There we go. Alright, so we'll tab over to the Ropa and we will get started. This guy's going to be done before I even get this side started up. Alright. Alright, we'll get straightened up over here on this guy. Let's go ahead and get him started up. And as soon as I get a little bit started, I will go ahead and initiate my GPS as always, because I just like having straight, efficient lines. And I'll need to move that over just a bit. Well, actually, there we go. That's got us. Alright, so we should be good to go right there. I'll enable GPS, and we will get going. Alright, so now that we got this going, if you could, I got the G27 and I'll go through sort of how everything is set up. My steering wheel, the little floppy paddles that you have for steering, I got that set up for turn indicators, right, left turn indicator on there. The 6 buttons that are on the steering wheel, I was only able to get 2 of those to function. So my left side button, I've got set for beacons, so I can utilize those as we're working these now. And then I got the horn on the other side, so when I'm working with multiplayer I can use that for signaling. Alright, moving over to the controller, I've got on my red buttons, the 4 red buttons on the center console, I was able to get those to work. My first red button I've got for lights, to cycle through the headlights. The second one I've got set for flashers in case I needed those. Third button I've got set for engine start. Fourth button I've got set for disconnecting trailers and implements and things of that nature. As far as the D-pad on it, I was able to get a little bit of functionality out of the D-pad, so I've got that hooked into drive control for the ability to cycle through vehicles that are currently active. So if I go to the right, it'll cycle to the next active vehicle. If I go to the left on it, it'll cycle through to the previous active vehicle. Didn't get any functionality out of the up or down on it, but I might still try to get that programmed at a later date. Let's see, then next to that is my right side stick. I'm in forestry mode right now, so I've got the 2 joysticks installed. My right side stick is for controlling my boom on the forestry, as well as we control up and down on your boom on a front loader. My little thumb button on there I'm using for my camera angles. The top of that hat I'm using to control the on the top of those buttons I have my B key as well as my O key, because I was using those in forestry mode to control the implement for turning it on and off, and using it to select the to set the size of the cut. So those 2 buttons are that way as well, still standard. The next 2 thumb buttons are for forestry, for cutting, to open the claw and close the claw. The trigger, I'm using that as a modifier for forestry, for doing the, let me get in here, it's a little bit quieter. The trigger I'm using as a modifier for forestry to use to hold the trigger, and then I can use the joystick back and forward to telescope out the boom on the cutter and the buffalo. Moving on down, there's 6 buttons down on the bottom. The furthest 3 buttons away from me I'm using for drive control for the 4-wheel drive, the diff locks. The center lower button I'm using for GPS to turn GPS on and off. And then the last 2 buttons I really haven't put anything on there yet. That's about it for that joystick. And then on the left side joystick I've got set up for boom control in forestry. The hat switches on that are all for forestry. The top hat buttons on there are for when I have something like the 5th axis on a forestry that allows you to maybe pivot ahead if you've got a modified like the Ponzi that it has that allows you to pivot the cutting head up and down. And then the bottom thumb buttons are for pivoting the head right and left. Trigger is for cut, which means that's also the X function for me to fold and unfold an implement when I'm doing farming. Side button on there, the thumb button on that one I haven't done anything with. I probably use that as push to talk when I'm on TeamSpeak with people and doing something. Find the sweet spot there. Let's see, what else have I got going on this joystick? The only other function I have on that joystick is the on the bottom 6 buttons. I have one of those buttons assigned to switch the driver position in the Buffalo. I'm pretty much trying to eliminate any functionality on it for agricultural purposes, because again, I'm toying with the idea of if I can get everything assigned to buttons on the steering wheel and the left and the right side joystick, then I have no reason to need that joystick when I'm just doing agricultural operations. And I can reassign. The only reason for me to do another version for ag would be simply because the way it's set up right now to do forestry, if you've watched my video on dual joysticks and forestry, if you boom down and then your pivot function to make the to rotate the cab on the cutters, that function is the same function as when you're in a loader to dump the bucket, which is kind of frustrating when you're trying to do that, because you can't do the I can't really do it the way I want to do it, which would be, you know, I'd like to have it set so the pivot of the cab is its own separate function from a tool control for your loader. But unfortunately, the way they've got it set up, that's the way it functions. So for agricultural purposes, to like run the JCB front loader on this map, I'd like to have a different setting for agricultural purposes that allows me to have the joystick that's on my right be forwards and backwards, raise and lower the boom, and then right and left curls the bucket. So by setting up if I make a separate bindings ag only, I'll lose the left side joystick. I'll only run a single joystick, and it will be set up for operating boom equipment, or it'll be set up for operating a front end loader versus operating booms on forestry equipment. So that's the only other change I may make coming up. When I do that, I have to get rid of the X button that is on the trigger of the left joystick, which is my cut feature. I'll have to put that on to a button over here on the right hand side somewhere, which is why I'm keeping a couple of buttons spare right now, as that'll be something I look into in the future. So I know that's hard to visualize without actually seeing it, but if you can picture that in your head, that's how I've got everything set up for right now. That should give me enough functionality to not have to use any other controller for the most part. And then the last piece I'm using, I'm still keeping the PS3 controller for walking around, using a chainsaw, and also doing some camera pivoting. I may eventually move the camera to the top hat on the right joystick, but I got to get a little more comfortable with using that to move things around. I can do a much better job with either the mouse or use the gamepad. So that's sort of where I'm at. So that gives you an idea how I got everything set up. And like I said, eventually I'll get some pictures and maybe do a little video of how everything is set up. Down the road, once I get everything set the way I like it, with my office and the little sled I'm building for the office, specifically for this, I'll try to get a camera, use my DSLR to record my hand movements and everything, and then I'll do and then go into post and sync all that up for you guys and let you be able to see all that. But that's way down the road. That's one of those wishful thinking things. Alright, let's go ahead and call for an unload. Even though we're not that full, the John Deere is. He's 60% full, so if I go ahead and call him now, I'll go ahead and dump this load of potatoes. He can go ahead and go to the farm, and then I can pick up from there. Alright, I'm going to take that GPS stuff off the screen real quick. We don't need that up there. Still a few things that I've got on the keyboard that I need to look at. Maybe trying to map on there. I've still got 4 buttons. I've still got 4 buttons on the top of the gear shifting console that I can use for something. And 2 buttons on or 2 axes on the D-pad that I might be able to get to work as well. Alright, let's see if I can figure out. Such a funny little position there to get that to work right. Yeah, looks like we got it now. And then on the gear shifter, I forgot to tell you this one. I'm using the gear shift as well. So I've got the gear shift set up to do things like so since a gear shifter on this thing is essentially just another button, you know, it's just a switch. You got a lever that when it goes into a certain slot, it connects to another switch, right? So since it's a series of switches in there, the gear shifter itself has 7 positions on it. So I'm using it for a couple of things as well. So I'm using it to raise and lower the implement. Then, you know, a lot of implements will have an extra function built in for the Z key. That'll be that 4th additional functionality that's built on there. So I've got that on there as well on the gear shift lever. And then the activate a trigger, I've got that on there as well. So if I have to activate something like I'm selling something, or if I go to refuel, I've got that where I can just pop up and refuel real quick. And then there's one more I've got mapped onto it that I can't remember right this minute. But I still have 3 more slots I can use off of that as well if I need to. So Just when I thought I didn't need GPS up anymore, I need to massage this over just a hair. There we go. That'll be good. And we can get going now again. But that's it. I did get it working again, so I'll go from there. And assigning it is the same. If you watch my video on how I set up the dual joysticks, it's the exact same situation. You plug everything in, get everything right, make sure that the throttles on the joysticks are still set to neutral. That's the biggest thing you have to do, because if they're not, it'll mess the whole programming up. But you make sure everything is set to neutral, and then you basically just go into the key bindings and start, assigning values. Double click into a pane, press the button. For steering, you click on the steer, turn right, turn the steering wheel to the right. It sets up all the steering. As far as forward and backwards, you click on the one that says drive forward, step on the gas pedal, and it's got the whole thing assigned for you. It's, it didn't take long at all. Once I got, everything figured out in my head, how I was going to assign the buttons and where I wanted to put things. At one point I was just going to put them on all the joysticks, but then I thought, I'd really like to get rid of having to have both joysticks every time I play Farm Sim. So that's that. Now it's just a matter of getting used to everything and remembering where I put all the buttons and all the functionalities. And I've got a notepad over here where I jotted most of them down, but I still need to remember what it is I put on the bottom of the gear shift lever. So I'll remember it eventually. Now it's just a matter of going into the G27 profiler and figuring out what settings I want to use on a regular basis for the center spring, how much tension I want to be on it. Right now I think I'm running like 30% on that. And that seems alright. So I think that might be where I leave it, because it seems comfortable. Yesterday when I was first messing around with it, I had no idea what I was doing or where to set things. I had it still set like at 100%. And since Farm Sim doesn't actually have any force feedback, or isn't programmed to work with the G27, 100% feedback, it was like trying to turn the wheels of a dump truck without power steering. Definitely a forearm workout. So that didn't work. And then the more I watched some videos and read a little bit about the G27 and how the different functions, as far as where you could make adjustments, the more I read about it, the more I figured it out. I pretty much got it and am running it much better. I went ahead today and got a profile set up for Euro Truck. I've got a profile set now for Farm Sim and a profile set for Dirt Rally. However, Dirt Rally being a game that was made to antagonize Satan, it's going to be a while before I'm comfortable driving in Dirt Rally with it, because Dirt Rally is hard. I'm not going to kid you. It is a hard game. And I got decent at it with the using the gamepad, But everything I learned and figured out using the gamepad is right out the window now, using this thing, because I drove around a little bit earlier and I hit the wall every time I turned around. It was unreal how bad I drove in there using the steering wheel. So, and it's, again, it comes down to sitting around and tweaking all the settings to get everything to function the exact way that you like it and the way you're comfortable with it, so you have the right feedback. But I dig driving dirt with it, and I never really knew everything that a G27 or a steering wheel with force feedback could do for you. But you go from asphalt to dirt, you can feel that, and because of the feedback. Even something stupid like tapping the brake pedal, you can set up your springs in there to be a little bit looser, a little bit tighter. And so let's say you set up your front suspension to be a little bit looser, so that when it comes time to corner, you can tap your brakes and make you set your brake bias to the front brake, so there's more front brake than there is rear brake, which means when you approach a turn, you tap your brakes, it shifts the weight of the vehicle from the center point towards your front suspension. That way you have more weight on the front suspension, which means you'll be able to corner better, because your wheels will dig in and you'll be able to, make more of a turn. Well, just that little thing of tapping the brake and sending that weight more onto the front tires, the steering wheel is set up to compensate, to reflect that and feed that back to you. And it's crazy when you tap the brakes and you feel the steering wheel tighten up a little bit more because it's got that much more weight on it. It's pretty cool. I'm pretty excited about it. And as you can tell, this is the first time I've had a racing wheel, so it's gonna be fun. I'm not one of those guys that 10 years ago would have seen myself getting into racing wheels and buying one and dual joysticks and all that kind of stuff. 10 years ago I wouldn't have thought about it, but at this point I'm just getting into that style of gaming and having it. Racing games weren't my thing years ago. I was more into the first-person shooters and Warcraft and things of that nature, EverQuest, and we've gone down that road before. But now I'm getting more into the Sims and doing a little bit of racing. It's kind of cool. I think I've got my settings in Euro Truck down. I've just kind of been cruising around the cities. I made one small load the other day, and it wasn't bad, but it wasn't great either. But I'm getting better with it. Remembering how to use the 8 shifter and the your splitter and your range on it, and when to push them, and what sequences to go through, getting all that down. And that's one of those things that it's just do it, and eventually it becomes second nature to you. And seeing as I've driven with a controller for so long, second nature for me is to use the controller and use the shoulder pads to shift gears. So again, it's one of those things that over time I'll get used to it and we'll be better and better with it. But I do plan on doing a Euro Truck video real soon, and getting that out for you guys so we can have a little laugh at Mistermoose and his Euro Truck fiasco. I will probably do that a little bit later on, and get that video up for you. Saying a little bit later on, meaning at some point on Thursday I'll have a video up on Euro Truck, most likely, as that'll be something I want to get up. I have to get back into first person because it's so loud on this machine. So I know a lot of y'all like for me to work in third person, but It's so loud driving this thing out there. I feel like I need to scream in order for you guys to hear me. So what's next on this farm? Well, we'll finish up the potatoes, and then I'll bring the Fendt over here and we'll plow this field, and then we'll be ready to assess all the fields and figure out where we go from there as far as planting. We do have a high demand for soybean right now, so we need to take advantage of that, which means we'll probably truck a load of soybean out. Depending on how much time we have left on this video, we might do that before we go, and that would be me hauling a load of soybean. See how that goes. But we'll get our planting started, and like I said, our weather forecast looks really good. If we look at our PDA here, pull it up. Weather forecast, no rain in sight, which is good for us. Couple of warm days, but again, we all know now that the temperatures can vary on you, so I don't really worry about the temperatures as much anymore as I worry about the rain, and at this point it doesn't look like we have any rain scheduled for the near future. Ooh, I need to get that guy over here. Request driver. Let him get over here and dump this load before I get too much fuller, because he's at 70 and I'm already at 60%, which means he's only going to be able to take about half of the load that we've got right now. Get rid of that. Start getting this out. Offload whatever we can into him, which ain't a whole lot. He drives through the faux trees there. Thank goodness they're faux. I'd be having to go get him off of the trees if they were real. I think I need to add cruise control onto to a button somewhere. That would be good. After I record this video, I'm going to go back into the options and try to add a little more functionality into the G27 console. It's weird. The first time I went in and programmed everything, let me get back in the cab so I don't feel like I'm yelling. The first time I programmed everything, I was only able to do one button at a time. I was talking to Recon earlier during the evening, and Recon and I were talking about when he set his up, and he was telling me he was able to get all of his buttons to work. So now I'm thinking, well, why am I only able to get a couple of these buttons to work? Well, I recorded, I set up some options. I didn't really like some of them, so I went in and remapped some stuff. Well, when I went in the second time to remap again, I was able to get some more buttons programmed on the G27 console. I'm like, well, maybe it's just I need to go in there several times, and each time it recognizes, it'll recognize different buttons to program. As long as you don't overwrite something that you previously wrote, I think I might be able to get them all figured out. So I'm going to keep on trying that. I don't know, I might actually need to go into and look at the programming on that. It might be something I can open that up in a text document and actually manually do that. I'll have to see. I'll look into that tonight as well. If I whatever I figure out, I'll let you guys know. It would be very cool to get everything mapped out exactly the way I want it, and then be able to use it exactly the way I've been thinking about using it. Yeah, I did a lot of looking though on the internet, and no one really, other than using X-Patter, no one really came up with a solution for it. Which I know I can use X-Patter. Which if y'all have never heard of X-Patter or don't know what it is, it's basically an emulator that allows you to go in and custom config your joystick or gamepad or something to your specifications, which will allow you to do things like emulate. You can use your keyboard to emulate, or you can use your gamepad to emulate certain keystrokes on your keyboard. So in my case, like with Fishing Planet, I did the same thing with Fishing Planet with the program that I use to control my gamepad. Because my gamepad is not Microsoft, of course, I have to use a third-party application. Well, X-Patter does the same thing for Xbox and a lot of other third-party joysticks and controllers. And somebody was telling me that if I would download X-Patter, I could make all my buttons work. And it was someone who actually has a G27 and has X-Patter. I prefer not to run X-Patter. I've got enough junk that has to run when I'm playing this game and recording and streaming or whatever. I'd love to limit the number of applications that I actually have running in the background. So if I can figure it out without doing something like X-Patter, I prefer that. So. Oh. Man, it's crazy how much this thing lists when you're on some of these hills. You just don't see it when you're out of the vehicle. It looks level there, but then you get in here and realize it ain't really that level. Find that sweet spot. I have to pull up a little bit. I am completely full. Come on. Oh, frustrating. Cannot find that good spot to do it. There it was. It's way down low. It's so touchy. It's messed up because I'm on that incline. Just when I'm about to give up on it, it fires off a few potatoes. Alright, guess we're gonna have to figure out something different. So here's what I'll do. Stop the driver and I'll back up. Get somewhere level and then have him come up and unload. This looks like a decent spot here. Start driver. Let him pull up. Alright. There we go. And then we'll just back up and go from there. Oops, there's those trees. Stay where you're at. Get some potatoes in the front of that thing. Alright, so that is that. Now we can put that back up and we'll back on up. Pull back in here and we'll resume the harvest. See, there's a solution to everything. So as soon as I get about 20% potato in this thing, I'll go ahead and call him over and fill him the rest of the way up. It don't need much. He only needs about, what does that trailer hold? 45,000? So he's pretty close to being full anyway, so as soon as I make this turn, I can probably call him over and make that happen. Fill him on up. There he goes. That worked out good. Alright, and then we should have one more load and we'll be done with the potatoes. It's amazing how long it takes to harvest potatoes. It is a long process, I know that much. Even when I'm doing it with my uncle, and like if I'm driving a digger, it's all day. I mean, it's just to do a field because you're digging about 12 meters at a time, 12 to 15 meters, and then the processor's coming behind and picking up all of that and putting that in a hopper to offload to a semi, and that's an all-day thing at 15 meters a cut. It's not like wheat or something where you get those big huge heads on there. Say 15 meters, it's more like 15 foot. Getting my numbers confused here. All right. So my plan for the rest of the week is to do a little farm simulator, of course. Do a little bit of Euro truck. Need to grab that new Peterbilt 389 and check it out and run it a little bit. I love the 389 that I have right now. Really, the only thing that's wrong with it on mine that's broken is the beacons on it. But I'll probably download that new 389. Well, actually, I've already downloaded it. I've got to go through and pull out all my Jazzy Cat stuff and update that as well. I noticed today, as I was driving around, some of the trailers that are in there are just bright red, which tells me there's some errors in there from that, as well as I noticed some cars doing that as well. So I need to update all my mods. Basically, I just need to clean my mods folder out and start all over again, which I hate to do because I absolutely love a couple of the mods that I have, but I probably just need to get rid of them and start all over because there are definitely some issues in there. The last patch just kind of messed things up, so broke a lot of stuff. Maybe it was the patch before. It was the one that added the waypoints in. It broke a lot of stuff, and because of that, I haven't really messed with it too much because it was just not something I wanted to spend the time doing. But now that I want to get in there and drive in it some and have some fun, I gotta do the work on updating all the mods first, which I just updated Pro Mods. Now there's a new Pro Mods out that has to be installed, so gotta download all that all over again and figure out what mods do actually work right now. So that's a task I've got to enjoy later on this evening. Let's see if I can stop that driver. There we go. Stop him so I can actually do what I need to do before he runs me over. Yeah, I know I hung you out to dry over there, buddy. We'll get you up here in just a second. Alright, now start the driver. I didn't even realize there until I started to make my turn and saw the lights in the windshield and realized, uh-oh, got a problem here. Looks like we might be able to get all of this in one trailer. It might be a stretch, but there won't be much in another one. Alright, hopefully the next time we see him we are done and we can put everything into it and turn this thing back in. We got about 47 minutes left on it. One thing I did do today is I went in and I disabled the K button on that menu. So no longer do I have the rental menu, which means if you've watched any of my videos, you know the rental mod, the K button brings up a list of all the mods you currently have rented. And that's fine if you have a whole bunch of stuff rented, but really I only rent like 1 or 2 things at a time, and honestly I just don't need to do anything other than turn them in, you know. So that button, the problem is the J, the N, the M, and the K are multifunction buttons that work with a lot of different things. For instance, with the conveyor belt, that K/M swings the arm on the conveyor belt around. So without that K button, I wasn't able to utilize that for a while. So I went in the menu while I was in there and got rid of it, so I could still keep the current rental mod that I'm using, because I know I had talked about getting rid of it, but I can use this rental mod now and just not have the issues that I had with the with that button interfering with other mods. So took care of that as well. It took me a little bit to find it in the list of commands, but do enough digging around, you'll find it eventually. It wasn't listed like with the name of the mod or any kind of abbreviation that made it look like it was. It just said like show rented, I think is maybe what it said. It wasn't much at all. So once I finally found it, I was able to get rid of it. This makes me happy. All right. Oh, wait a minute. The fent has been blocked this entire time, and I didn't realize it. Ugh. He's been sitting there charging me to work this entire time, and he has been stuck on a tree. I think he did that before on me. Well, I didn't even notice it. I've been just kind of doing my thing. See if I can fold that up and make this turn. There we go. Yeah, I need to get the camera on the top hat. That'll be a lot better for me. Alright. Alright, he is hired and should finish this up now without any more issues. And I can go back to what I was doing. Yeah, I guess I can. Well, that's weird. I used the D-pad to cycle over to that particular tractor, but now the D-pad didn't let me cycle back to this one, which is frustrating. Alright. Yeah, I'll check that out again in a minute. Make sure all my button functions are still working. Get too far in here and realize that the stuff that I've got mapped to the console only works sometimes, not all the time. That would be frustrating. Figure out why that didn't work again. So I will probably do a forestry video just because I want to do some forestry now that I've got all this working. So I may do a forestry video as well in the next, maybe for Friday. I gotta check. Maybe it'll either be a forestry video on Friday, or I'll maybe try to talk Recon into doing some forestry. He said something this evening about maybe starting a whole new map and doing some more forestry. we've got a mutual friend that is just starting out a YouTube channel and is wanting to do some forestry and farming sim. I think he wants to get involved as well, so that might be good for us, because that might get some more recon into forestry and give me the ability to do some more forestry work. So like I said, I'm getting into it and enjoying it now. So, alright, let's request our driver one last time and we'll get going. Yeah, all right. Come on, buddy. Well, center console let me jump into this guy. Oh, I still got potatoes left in that thing. Goodness me. Y'all hear that? That is the sound of that Ropa still running, even though we're in a different vehicle. Crazy. Alright, let me turn that off. Oh, it's glitched out. Oh, it's just gonna run all the time. Seriously? Great. Alright, we're gonna have to deal with it until I can get this load taken to the farm and unloaded. That's frustrating. Glitchy mod, glitchy mod. Alright, so we'll run this up to the farm, unload it, and get back and get the rest of those potatoes out of there. The sooner the better. That way we can get rid of this noise that is running in my ears. That is annoying. But I was sitting there thinking, well, I'll probably be able to get the last little bit of potato out of here. So since we can do that, why don't we just go ahead, grab that little bit of potato out, and we'll take this guy and stop paying him to work, and we'll just jump into him, return the other one real quick, and be done with it. And lo and behold, now I have this beautiful sound going in my ears. It's like a broken washing machine or something. It's a horrible noise to have to listen to when you're not actually utilizing it. I gotta get used to using turn signals now that I have an easy access to do it, as well as using my beacons and stuff like that now. There's no excuse for me to not actually do it, because they're easy for me to use, so I need to start actually using stuff like that. now that I have all that stuff programmed and have something easy to do it with. Alright, let's go get this last bit out of this joker. Get rid of it. And I think that'll about do us for a video today. I know I've got that high demand for soybean. We can always do that in the next video. Completely missed that joker. Come on, get that last little bit out of there. And shut off, please. It's not going to shut off. Alright, whew. I got rid of it. That's driving me nuts. Alright, so we're going to return the Ropa. Not a bad little mod to do potatoes with. I actually sort of enjoyed it. I think I like it better than the Grim, to be honest with you. So, alright, return that vehicle. Yep. Rented vehicle was returned. And this one we accidentally bought, and we're just going to sell it. That was sold. Alright. So we are good to go. We'll haul this off to the farm, unload it. And then we'll wrap up this episode. We'll come back and do another one tomorrow for you guys. Like I said, maybe forestry, maybe not. It just depends on what mood I'm in. If I wake up in the morning and I'm, decide I want to do a little agriculture, then we'll do a little agriculture. It is actually, it's actually just after midnight when I'm recording this, so I'm sort of, who knows what kind of mood I'll be in tomorrow, and you never know what tomorrow will bring. Recon might want to do some forestry tomorrow or something. Well, whatever we do, we'll do something new. I'm sort of biting at the bit to do some forestry now that I've got all this set up and all the controls in here, and really want to do some forestry. One, because, yeah, to play with the toys, and two, to make sure I got all the bindings set right and figure out where there's anything that I could improve on with my settings. So I have messed around a little bit with the forestry, but and again, it may be a situation where I end up adding shuttle control to this thing, because it might be something that I need to do in order to make everything work properly. And so that's one of those things that I'm looking at. Oops. Yep. Because I hit the wrong gas pedal sometimes. Like I did right there. Still not completely got it through my head that I need to be hitting the brake to back up. I think I probably will put the shuttle in now. I have to find a button where I can make it where it's easily to do instead of having to do anything else. Alright, so we're done. Got that taken care of. And yeah, that'll wrap up this video. Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed it. And it wasn't too boring, me just rambling on about button assignments and all that. It might not have meant anything to you without actually being able to see the controllers and understand what I was talking about. But then maybe some of you guys are good at visualizing things and can figure it out from what I was saying. So anyways, thanks for watching, guys. If you did enjoy the video, make sure you give me a thumbs up. And yeah, if you haven't subscribed already, please do. I try to do a new video each and every day. And to that one guy that is continuing to dislike all my videos, thank you so much for watching. The one thing about it is you are consistent, so thank you so much. Alright guys, have a good day. Thanks for watching as always. Stay safe, and I will see you in the next video. Till then, bye-bye.